Alright, I should be live now. Tell me if you can hear me. I'll just wait a little bit to see what you guys say. Uh, Hello? I'm not sure this is working. Damn. Hello? Great. Technical issues on my first stream. OBS is saying it's picking up my mic. Oh, you can hear me, good. If you give me a second, I'm just going to get the link to my YouTube, to this video and post them. I should have done that before, but I forgot, sorry. Where... sorry, I'm not very experienced. I haven't done this in a long time, so I'm not as good at this as I used to be. I'm not nervous, I'm more, what's the word I want? I don't know, I'm not sure. Hello, Vault Girl. Welcome everybody. Alright, there, I've posted the links. Now we can get started. But first, just in case any of you haven't remembered to do it yet, make sure you craft your backpack with the Brotherhood of Steel. The Brotherhood of Steel backpack so that you can do the dailies and weekly challenges for it. So you can get some useful stuff, some interesting stuff from it. Like today's is a perk card pack for the daily. The weekly one, which I've already finished, is a Brotherhood of Steel Pip-Boy skin. As for why have Fallout 76 here, it's because I do not have a web camera, so I cannot actually show myself. So I have to have something in the video footage. I'm in my private server, of course, for performance reasons. This is my camp. See, I'm just using the prefab stuff, not anything I've made myself, because I just want something basic. Oh, speaking of which, I do not have stems anymore, so get rid of that sign. But the topic today is why I think, how I think Bethesda Game Studios needs to change a little. Now, to clarify, I'm not going negative about them. I do quite like them. They're still one of my favourite studios, and in some ways, it's why I'm saying what I'm going to say. At the end, I will let you guys ask any questions you want. It doesn't have to be on topic either. It can be about anything. And I have to give a hat tip to one of VaultGirl's subscribers because he came up with the title Deep in the Dragon's Den, Downtime Gaming, which I'll provide you a link to his channel. Or you're a mod, VaultGirl. Can you provide a link to Downtime Gaming's channel? I do. Sorry, I'm trying to get my trying to figure out which part of my notes I'm up to now. Sorry, I'll get better at this as I get more experienced at it. Thank you, VaultGirl. As a side note, I do think Creation Engine 2 is not really a good name for the engine they'll be using with Starfield. If you noticed in the video, it did say it was called Creation Engine 2. Now I get that they're doing that because they are known for Creation Engine now, but it's just because it's such a big change. It kind of justifies having its own name in a way. They changed the name from Gamebryo to Creation Engine when they went from Fallout 3 to Skyrim. And from everything they've said, this is going to be a bigger engine change than that was. So if anything justifies a name change, it's that one. But also, people will associate the problems of Creation Engine with Creation Engine 2, whether it's justified or not. So I think it's probably isn't their own interest to change it from Creation Engine 2, but I don't think they'll do that. They'll keep the... Well, technically it is a new engine, VaultGirl. It's just the name I think should be changed. But that's more of a side point, not the main point I want to mention here. Where I'm up to. They're probably just sticking with it though because that's what they're known for, and because the Creation Kit will still be used, so they're keeping that name, so they want to keep the Creation Engine name. Like, they'll be using the Creation Kit to still be making their games as an editor for it, and that's fine if you're just lurking, Slacker. At least you'll put my view time up, which will be good for my channel. Thanks for being here at all, and that goes for everyone. And anyway, they'll be using it for mods too, so that's probably the fact that they're using Creation Kit and keeping that name is probably also why they want to keep the name Creation Engine. But it's mainly how the studio operates that I think needs to change. And that is in relation to, and what made me think this way is the release date they announced for Starfield. Now, I don't mind that Starfield itself has taken so long, especially since it's a game that it's an unknown quantity to me. I probably will like it because it's by BGS, but I'm not just automatically going to assume I'll definitely like it just because they've released it. They are releasing it, rather. If you didn't see, it's 11/11/2022 is the release date for Starfield. But what makes me worry is how that's going to affect the release date of future games in the Elder Scrolls and Fallout series, especially the Elder Scrolls, because that's the one I prefer out of Bethesda's games. BGS's, sorry. Not Bethesda as a whole. Now, I do think Starfield probably will be good. It's especially since Todd Howard said they were going to be returning to their hardcore RPG roots. But what worries me is that as based on their current size of the studio, yes, they have expanded a lot in recent times, but I do not see that they're going to be able to release the games anytime soon. I mean, it'll be a long time between each given franchise. Skyrim was in 2011. Based on the fact that Todd Howard and Pete Hines have both said there's going to be a similar amount of times between their games, so that's 3 or 4 years. that makes 2025 or 2026 is when the Elder Scrolls 5 is most likely to come out. In Elder Scrolls 6, sorry. That's 14 to 15 years after Skyrim. Oh, yes, thank you, True Flat. Thanks a lot for that. Yes, hit the like button, please. Thanks for saying that, True Flat. So that's 14 to 15 years after Skyrim, as I was saying. That's a long time. And I'm saying that at my relatively young age. I'll be turning 39 later this year, sorry. So I'm not that old yet. What about the older fans? They're going to be that date and the date of Fallout 5, which will probably be, if Skyrim's 2025 to 26, that's going to be 2028 to 2030. Depending on if it's 3 to 4 years for Skyrim, for Elder Scrolls 6. That's going to be a long time to wait for those older fans. Yeah, sorry, I was wrong about 38 Pixel Gamer Girls. It's 39 I'm turning later this year. I'm 38 now. September I'll be turning 39. So I'm not far off middle age now. Where's the years gone? Yeah, 2028 to 2030, as I said, Volk Girl, so that's a long wait. So for someone like me, it's bad enough. It's going to be worse for older people. And I get part of the delay with Starfield is COVID. Obviously, that's been part of the problem. And also, updating the engine. Which actually goes into something I'll say soon about how I think they need to change. Also, they don't want Starfield to repeat of Cyberpunk 2027. That is a big part of it. They might have released sooner if Cyberpunk 2027 hadn't have had so many problems. What are you saying, WTF about Trueflat? About the 2020-30. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you said that. Oh, yeah. Yes, well, Todd Howard and Pete Hyden said they're going to take a similar amount of years between their games. That makes 3 to 4 years. So if Starfield's 2022, that makes 3 to 4 years for Elder Scrolls 6. That makes 2025 to 2026. And then assuming Fallout 5 is next instead of Starfield 2 or some other game, that makes 3 to 4 years after that. So 2028 to 2030 for the next for Fallout 5. Which these dates are making me appreciate Fallout 76 all the more now, especially since it's going to get constant new content. Ooh, Path to Enlightenment, that's always a good event to do. But I'm on my own, so I don't think I'm going to bother. I can do it on my own, but I'm not going to bother too much. I don't think overtime is what they need to do so much. True Flat, that's where you get a lot of the what's that's been complained about in the industry a lot. Complaint about the industry, how they get people to work too much in the gaming industry a lot. I forgot what it's called right now. What they need to do is expand further. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but expand even more than they already have. And that's considering they're about 3 to 4 times size they used to be. But Todd Howard has made it clear that the vast majority of them and the Dallas studio have been working on Starfield. So that means only a very small team have been doing what they've shown they've been doing on the Elder Scrolls 6. Which admittedly is a change to how they used to work. They never used to have 2 games, if even one, in small production like they've been doing with Elder Scrolls 6. But what they need to do, I think, is change so that they have 2 games in full development. So like the level of commitment that they're doing to Starfield at the moment is what they need to do. Have 2 teams doing that on 2 games, getting that much work at a time. Otherwise, these waits are just going to be too long. And that's just not tenable. That is going to hurt them. If it's going to be that long between the games in each franchise, 14 to 15 years between games in each franchise, because 2030 is 15 years after Fallout 4 was released as well. So this is not, that will hurt them if he was to wait that long between games in the franchise. The only time a franchise can get away with that kind of long wait is if they had a bad game that makes them wait, that makes it a good idea to put a game on hold for a little while. Like the way a lot of people criticise Mass Effect Andromeda, and Mass Effect was put on hold for a while. Except they've made it clear they're working on another Mass Effect now. So that was only like a 1 to 2 year hold or whatever. Hello, King Fan Man. Glad to have you here. So, yeah. How long have you been here, King Fan Man? Have you just got here, or are you looking for a little bit? Because I can repeat a little bit of what I said if you want. Because I've got no set time for how long this has to be. Yeah. So where was I? You've been here the whole time, King. Okay, I don't have to repeat anything. Good. I'm actually getting through these notes a lot faster than I thought I would so far. So this may end up being a shorter stream than I thought. Maybe, but then I'll have. There will be questions after. Time for questions afterwards, as I said. So. Because like King Fan always says about how it's a subscriber-driven podcast, I want to do that towards the end. I want to focus on stuff on my notes first, but towards the end will be like how the Kingcast is subscriber-driven. Yes, Volker, I agree. They do pride themselves on that. And I think it is possible to do that with 2 games operating at once. In fact, there is a studio whose CEO, well, I don't know if he's CEO anymore, but the guy who runs it is a good friend of Todd Howard's, in fact. And that is Insomniac Game Studios. Some of you, I know some of you, I've spoken to some of you guys about it. I know some of you heard that podcast a few years back where the CEO of Insomniac Games interviewed Todd Howard. Is there any of you here who haven't heard that? And that was clear they were very good friends. Insomniac Games just released 2 games on PlayStation 5 in really only a few months apart. And they're both considered very high quality, some of the best games on PlayStation 5 right now. Although one of them, Spider-Man Miles Morales, is on PlayStation 4 as well. But Ratchet and Clank will not ever be on PlayStation 4. Because those riffs, jumping from level to level, just will not be possible on a PlayStation 4 because of the hard drive. You need the solid state drive for that. Insomniac Games is also, they've never really, I don't have a PlayStation 5 either, true flat. I just know that a lot of people love the games, and I've seen the gameplay trailers they've released of that game. There's no way it is possible to do that on a PlayStation 4. The hard drive is just too slow. You will not have levels changing almost in under a second, completely changing level in under a second, because you activated a rift in under a second. The way that would not be possible on a PlayStation 4. The hard drive is just too slow. That game, in fact, Insomniac Games developers have said they programmed that to take advantage of the solid state drive in a PlayStation. That is just not. So yeah, while some games like Horizon Forbidden West, Spider-Man Miles Morales, God of War will all be possible on PlayStation 4. Ratchet and Clank would never be possible. I'm actually surprised Gran Turismo 7 is going to be possible on the PlayStation 4 even. Especially since that was originally announced as a PlayStation 5 exclusive only. But I think what a lot of people aren't realizing is the chip shortage is why PlayStation is releasing a lot of these games on PlayStation 4 that they weren't originally going to. They have to do it. Xbox has Game Pass to fall back on with the chip shortage. PlayStation, technically they do have PlayStation Now, including on PC, but it's just not. They're not focusing on it as much, so they can't really fall back on it. The only thing Sony have to fall back on is their over 110 million install base for PlayStation 4. It is the only thing Sony have to fall back on for the chip shortage. So they have to do it. Because hardware does not make money in consoles. Game sales do. Without game sales, PlayStation is not going to be profitable. It's as simple as that. Hello, Jeremy. Are you referring to, when you say that may surprise everyone, I assume you're talking about The Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5, not Starfield, since they have announced the Starfield date. Because I do want everyone to know too, I don't want Bethesda to rush anything either. I don't. I don't want that. Then they will get a repeat of Cyberpunk 2077 if they rush it. And that was made the initial problems of Fallout 76 look like nothing. So they don't want that. I mean, it's taken just over a year for Sony to say Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be allowed back on the PlayStation Store. Over a year. That is not good for the studio. I forgot their name. Sorry, I'm not very good with names. I need to get better at that. Yes. Push back indefinitely rather than released like that. I agree, Lyrical. Absolutely. Delays are better than releasing a game like that. I mean, and you think Cyberpunk 2077 is bad? I can name one game that, whilst very successful now, was originally worse. Final Fantasy XIV was worse than Cyberpunk when it first released. And the problem is, in some ways, got too ambitious. Have you heard about how they tried to do flower pots with 1 million polygons for a flower pot? That is ridiculous. No wonder no one's computer could handle the original version of Final Fantasy XIV. They had to completely redesign the game from the scratch, including remaking the engine for Final Fantasy XIV Realm Reborn, which is going to become one of the more successful MMOs now. At least Cyberpunk, they are fixing it gradually at the moment, so far without having to completely remake the game. So if anything, Final Fantasy XIV is a bigger example even than Fallout 76 of how a game can go, or even ESO, from how games can go from a failed launch to successful. So Cyberpunk 2077 could and probably will recover eventually, but it wouldn't need to recover if they had taken more time with it. I didn't play Unity until it was well and truly fixed, Vault Girl, so I wouldn't know anything about that one. I didn't follow the Assassin's Creed series back then, so I wasn't hearing the news about it, unlike with Final Fantasy XIV. Well, I don't know if it's... All I know is they have patched some things, Vault Girl, and even Sony is now willing to put it back on the PlayStation Store, so it must have got somewhat better. It's obviously still got a long way to go, though. I trust that Sony probably knows what they're talking about. Just as if it was Microsoft doing it, I would trust them on it too. It's not like a only trusting the Sony thing. I would trust Microsoft if it was them in that situation as well, or Steam or whoever. In fact, I don't even have a console, period. So I have no vestige in one console versus another at the moment. No interest at all. Not even in terms of game releases. I've only got a PC. I've never even bought a Pixel because Cyberpunk just doesn't seem like the kind of game I'd be interested in personally. So I don't know if I'll ever buy Cyberpunk. It doesn't seem like my kind of game. But then I used to say that about Fallout because it was post-apocalypse. And I generally don't like post-apocalypse games. So I don't know. Maybe my opinion will change one day. Anyway, um, to get back on track, I just have to find where I'm in my notes. Um, I mentioned the engine update, didn't I? That's part of why Starfield took so long, and I understand all that. But what I think that, on that note, another thing I think they should do is have a separate team that only develops the engine, instead of the way they have traditionally had what the team making the game working on the engine as well. If they had a separate team that worked only on the engine, then making the engine wouldn't delay games, because that team that makes the engine could be working on it, the upgrades for the next game, while the main team is making a game or two, or the two teams were making the games. But even just that one team making the engine and still only one team working full time on a game would make a lot of difference. But I think they should do both. They should have a studio, not a studio, two teams rather. That would probably be spread across multiple of their studios, I'd say. Just like they're currently spreading development across multiple studios now. It's not like Maryland is the only one working on Starfield. Dallas is. There are even people in Montreal, the mobile team, working on helping it, according to what Todd Howard has said. They've said every single one of their studios helps with the mainline games. And that happened even with Fallout 76, even though technically it's a spin-off. Before Fallout 76's release, teams in all 4 studios were helping make it, Todd Howard said. And they had to pause they had to pause what they were working on to do that. Which is also another factor as to why Fallout 76, why Starfield is taking so long. But Insomniac Games is supposed to be working on Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man with Peter Parker, the sequel to Spider-Man with Peter Parker as well. And while that's not officially confirmed, it has been implied by Insomniac Games developers that they do have a team working on that. And they are teasing Resistance a lot, which suggests they might be bringing back Resistance as well. That's 3 franchises they're working on potentially, and that's with a spin-off of Miles Morales happening for one of those franchises as well as the main game. So they are working on a lot at once, and yet releasing very high quality games. So it is definitely possible to do, and since Todd Howard does have a lot of respect for Insomniac Games, he said that in that interview I mentioned, that if he's going to copy anyone, Insomniac Games probably is one of the studios he would be, or not copy, and be inspired by. But I'm not saying they should change how they do it. It's still possible to have 2 teams and keep things the way they do it. So don't have to copy everything Insomniac Games does. Just Insomniac's ability to release multiple games within reasonable times without a long time between franchises. And as it is, people complained that it took so long for Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart because they'd had no new game continuing the story since a small game at the end of the PlayStation 3 era. PlayStation 4 only had a reboot of Ratchet and Clank 1. People still complained about that, and that wasn't as long a wait as we're talking about for Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5. And that was... Insomniac still did release a Ratchet and Clank game. It's just that they didn't have any ideas for a new story in then, so they done a reboot of the first one to tie in with the movie that was being released. So they still had a Ratchet and Clank game out in that time. Just weren't sure how to... They've said they didn't know how to continue the story, and we will do the Ratchet and Clank with the new... bring the story forward when we know what to do with the characters. Which I do appreciate. I like studios that do that. I don't like studios that just go, we'll rush out sequels fast for the sake of it, to increase our income. I get businesses are about money, but if they rush out a game and don't do it properly, it doesn't actually help profits in the long run anyway. A game that is well made, with a good story and good gameplay, will do more for sales than a rushed game that's released too quickly just for the sake of getting a sequel out. Um, where was I in my notes now though? And forget the other point too is that's when I say 14 to 15 years, I'm assuming nothing like COVID happens again. If anything like that happens again, that's going to create further delays. But that's out of their control. But if anything, COVID makes it clear that studios need to prepare for that possibility again to have. They need to have systems in place to get around that. And having two studios and a separate one for the engine, not two studios, two teams working on games full time, two full teams working on games full time, and a engine team would help them prepare for that. Because then there's not each individual game might be delayed, but because they've been developed at the same time, they will get them out sooner, even with anything like COVID delaying things again. And this is also assuming that they don't release like another new franchise in there. Then things will get even worse if they want to release another new franchise in terms of delays. There's not a big enough studio really to have 3 franchises being worked on. But I do like... hello, Shield Maiden, Samantha. I do like that they're doing a new franchise. I do think that's good for them. For game developers to do the same thing all the time, repeatedly, they will get bored. I know that as a creative person myself. It will get bored. It'll get boring, them doing the same thing all the time. Like, I've actually been writing... I write a lot of fictional stories. I have since I was 10, I think. And I've had to mix it up occasionally, otherwise I'd get bored. It's the same for game developers. Any kind of creator doing the same thing all the time, they'll get bored. So even if Elder Scrolls Fallout, Elder Scrolls Fallout, Elder Scrolls Fallout, they'd get bored eventually. So I do think it's good for them to do something else now. And that's good for us gamers too, because even if we don't like Starfield, that break for them will make them do better with the Elder Scrolls and Fallout. So they just need more people working on their games at that time. Thanks, Jefflat, for that compliment. I didn't see your comment earlier. I just wanted to finish my point first. I do eventually plan to release some of my stories online there, and this is going to totally shock you given my channel name and what I've said to some of you before about my interests. Dragons are going to be a major part of the story in one of my series. And another series idea actually is kind of related to the mention of Starfield. It is a sci-fi ship exploration of space game. Story. I actually do have an idea for a game I want to do, dragon related as well. I hope that you're right, Valkyrie. I think eventually they may come up with another IP, but I hope it's not anytime soon. You're probably right, they probably won't anytime soon. Yeah, they definitely have their hands full bouncing between them. Now, Microsoft purchasing them is going to help to some extent. They have the money now to expand. That may have been part of the problem before. Overall, I think, yes, some people are going to miss out now because it's exclusive to PlayStation. I think overall, though, the Microsoft purchase is going to be good for the fans of Bethesda. And I mean all the Bethesda studios, not just game studios. Even id Software, who probably, out of all Bethesda studios, needs to change the least, will benefit greatly from the Microsoft purchase because of the money. Although, despite what some people think, it's not like unlimited funds, because Microsoft has so many things running that the Xbox division is only going to get so much money. Because, I mean, especially because Microsoft's biggest moneymaker is the cloud. And I don't mean cloud gaming, like the xCloud service they're doing. I mean hosting other people's websites. And Office 365, the online version of Microsoft Office. That's where the big money for Microsoft is. The other two big money makers are Windows and the non-online version of Microsoft Office. So those departments are always going to get way more money than Xbox, which just makes it tiny. No matter how profitable it will be, Xbox will never come close to those three divisions when it comes to the money they make. And they will get a proportionate amount of money based on that. Now, Bethesda will make Xbox division a lot more profitable. So that will help them get more funding from the wider Microsoft. But it's still only going to be a small portion compared to what they get. But, despite that, it will be the kind of money that ZeniMax was never going to be able to match. The kind of money that they'll get from Microsoft, even considering the limited funds they will get from compared to other divisions of Microsoft. There will be far more money coming from Microsoft than ZeniMax could ever match. Then that money will help with everything I'm talking about to some extent. So I do admit being with Microsoft is going to make it a lot better for them than if they hadn't have been bought. Things will be even worse if Microsoft hadn't have bought them. And as someone who primarily plays on PC anyway, the Microsoft purchase does not affect my ability to play their games. So on a personal level, sale doesn't impact me in that way. But I do feel sorry for those who will miss out because of the exclusivity. I'm not saying I'm not trying to downplay that. For those people, it does suck. I do feel for them. Now, Lurker, were you saying we should speak? Are you a writer too, then I take it? Sorry that it took so long to respond to that, but I had to finish my point first. I haven't actually been saying my notes in the proper order they're written in, by the way, but I've been sticking to them in terms of making all the points I'm supposed to so far. Okay, I'll send you a private message in Discord at some point afterwards, just lyrical, and have a chat with you. Now also too, when I'm talking about the games being released, I am not gaps between the games. I am not counting the mobile games from Montreal into that at all. Those will not have any way delay the games, of course, because that is I see. I get you, True. What you're saying? There you go. What was I saying? Montreal. The Montreal mobile games will not in any way affect the release of games, of course, because they're their own thing. They're doing their own thing, kind of. That it's same as Fallout 76 at this point. We'll know while it did initially during that crunch period. Crunch. That's what I wanted before. How some studios do the over crunching for by working their people overtime. I don't want too much crunch happening in Bethesda, like some studios do. That's what I was trying to think. There was always going to be a degree of crunch for finishing any project in a business, but there is a point of going too far with crunch. And I think what some people forget when it comes to it is sometimes it's not the studio making the developers do it. Sometimes they are that passionate, they want to do it. I have seen even developers that have said they needed a break because they have feelings and burnout, said it was their choice to do overtime because they wanted to get their game out because they were that passionate about it. I think that's something a lot of people that play about crunch forget. Some people go so far as to say crunch shouldn't happen at all. Well, you're going to not happen at all. You're going to tell people, no, you're not allowed to go do overtime to finish the game sooner. It's pretty much the only way you're ever going to completely get rid of it. And what kind of business is going to say, no, you're not allowed to do overtime to get a product out sooner? Not many businesses are actually going to do that. It's just never going to happen. Because game developers are generally very passionate people. To be able, it's a very, very hard job. You've got to be passionate to be any good at it, really. If you're not passionate, you're just not going to be very good at it. And I have dabbled in some general software development and a little bit in using Unity and Unreal Engine 4. I haven't done a lot, but I've done a bit, so I do have a little taste. And even just doing the basic stuff is not the easiest thing you can do. There are much easier jobs than just dabbling even in doing that kind of stuff. So you've got to be passionate to be any good at it, for sure. Whether you're making software like Windows or even something basic like WordPad, let alone a game, you've got to be passionate to be any good at it. And obviously Fallout 76, because it has been released now, isn't impacting the delay anymore, anything of the games, because the Austin Studio was created specifically to do Fallout 76. Without Fallout 76, they wouldn't have created the Austin Studio. So Fallout 76's ongoing development is in no way delaying the other games. And in fact, as I said before, I'm appreciating Fallout 76 more now because at least that's something coming out of BGS during the wait. So it makes me very glad I got that about 2 years ago now. It doesn't feel like I've had it that long. That's true. True flat. Pun not intended. It's not really pun, that's not the right word, is it? But you get it, I'm sure. But yeah, if you're not passionate, you don't really do the job well. And I've experienced that in my own job. I work night staff only one night a week, but it's better than nothing. Putting stuff on the shelf and doing what's called front facing, which is bringing stuff to the front of the shelf. When I first started, I wasn't very passionate about it, but as I started getting better, actually with COVID I started getting better because we had a lot of stuff sold out. Like, you've all been shopping around COVID, you know what everyone being, you know how empty supermarket stores got. The shelves, a lot of shelves. All of you, I'm sure, have seen how empty supermarket shelves got. That actually made it easier. I started actually getting better at my job. I got able to keep up fast speed for longer because of that. And now I can do it even with fully stocked, with much more on the shelves now. So I got a lot more passionate about my job as I started getting better at it, and then I started getting even more improvements at it as a result. Any job, you're right, you have to be passionate to be any good at it. Yeah. Yes, that's true, King. That's why haven't been on for 9 months, is because I couldn't find anything I wanted to talk about. And so the passion wasn't there, so I didn't know what to talk about. Now I've got something. I mean, you can probably tell in my voice, it is something I care about. And so I was willing to get this done. And that is why, for the moment, you've noticed it says episode 1 in the title. This is, so I'm planning to do this as a series. However, for now, I only want to do it every fortnight. So every 2 weeks. Because I want to make sure I've got things to talk about. If I find more to talk about, I will increase it to weekly. But for now, I'm going to start with every fortnight to make sure I've got things to talk about, so I can keep the passion up. I'm sure it won't be hard to find something to talk about every 2 weeks. That shouldn't be too hard. There's always stuff going on in the gaming industry, after all. Even during the relative slow periods, there will be something to talk about, I'm sure. And I know a lot of people want remakes or remasters at least, of some of the older games like Fallout 3. Well, unless they what's the word? basically pass it on. I don't know the proper word, but pass it on to, well, as King Fairman has said, some Microsoft studios, which he does say Microsoft does have studios that are good at remasters and that. So unless they do that, you're not going to get that from that with the way things are now with Bethesda either. Because they don't, as I said, it's going to take so long between new games even. And Todd Howard has always said, and I agree that this is the right idea, he would rather do new games than a remaster. And it's not just because they will sell more, but because that's what's going to get more people interested in playing it, a new game. It's always going to get more people. And he wants people playing his games, which is why he is a big supporter of Game Pass. For him, it is more about how many people play the game than how profitable the game is. Only reason because he's not actually the one who directly benefits from profits. The only reason he cares about profits is because a profitable game is going to get a sequel. It's going to get the approval for a sequel. A non-profitable game is not. Which is the way it should be. As a developer, Todd Howard shouldn't be focused on profits. That should be what the executives running the studio are worried about, not the people making the game. Because that's when you're going to get too many microtransactions and whatnot in games. Or other problems that he will complain about having too much. And that'll be the pay to win sort, not just pay for cosmetics like in Fallout 76. Because most people don't have a problem with pay for cosmetics. Most people are fine with that. But sorry, what was I was just reading something in chat, sorry. But then you guys should want me to be reading chat, because otherwise what's the point in having a live stream if I'm not reading chat? Oh, hello, the Arena Uncensored. Welcome to the podcast. Glad you're watching. Let's see. This has got to be the most people that have ever watched one of my videos. So I've got to say thank you, King Fairman, and thank you, Voltgirl, for the promotion you have both done for this video. I really appreciate it, because this is definitely the most people have ever watched one of my videos, whether it be a live stream or a recorded one. So I am very, very grateful. Thank you very much. I wish I had a webcam right now, so you can see just how the expression on my face and the way I've got my hands in a thankful position. Because my voice can't just portray as much as my as those as well. How grateful I am. Speaking, by the way, about this hot tub, I learned something. Did you guys know if you sit in this long enough, you get well rested buff? I learned that yesterday when doing a test stream that I had a friend watch of this. I did not know that until then. Yeah, you can get well rested from sitting in your hot tub. See, that's Voltgirl, that is why I think you and King are both great YouTubers. It's not just the fact that you help smaller YouTubers, but that you actually enjoy doing so. That makes enjoying doing it makes you better people than if you simply just done it out of a sense of obligation or something. Yeah, it is quite fun, lyrical, and in fact, speaking of this game, I am going to do like King Fairman and do the way he does streams where he plays with the game with his fans. I almost said play with his fans, which is not the right way to say that. That could be taken two ways, and I do not mean that. So any of you that have this on PC, because I only have this on PC, as I said, it's the only system I have, you'll be able to come play with this game with me. Unless you play with me. Oh, I stuffed it out. I can be. I sometimes say things wrong like that when I don't mean it that way. uh, that's why I like to have a script for my recorded videos, at least notes for live stream like this. So that way I'm less likely to make mistakes. Because this was off the cuff, is why I always made that mistake just now. Arena, Vault Girl knows everything pretty much about Fallout. She is, as for King Fan, she's an expert on the lore. Is that just Fallout, or do you know as much about the Elder Scrolls as well, Vault Girl? I'm assuming it's both. I don't know as much about their lore. I do know it's very, very weird, and that's part of what makes it interesting for me, which is also why I like Doctor Who. I like really weird stuff. That's why Doctor Who really appeals to me. And I've actually do know quite a bit about the Doctor Who lore now, including why, despite what some people think, a lot of people think actually, what's it called? The Timeless Child thing actually fits very well into Doctor Who lore, including lore going back to the classic series. But this is not the time or place for that. Discussing that right now. But back on topic. Find where I'm in my notes. Star Trek is also another one I know a lot of lore about, including why some series have not contradicted Star Trek lore as much as some people think either. By no means, I am not really the expert on either of those two that Vault Girl is on. The Elder Scrolls and Fallout. But like there are people out there who are just as much of an expert on them as Vault Girl is, but I'm not to that level. I just think I'm well above the average person. And that's not meant to be a boast. That is just meant to be like that's a couple of things I am really passionate about. I love Doctor Who, I love Star Trek. That is why I know so much. I think there is Lurker. I think I've heard about it. If there's not, I would be very surprised. Surely there's ones for the Elder Scrolls as well. If anything, though, I know more about the Elder Scrolls than Fallout because I've been playing the Elder Scrolls longer. Technically I started with Morrowind when I got it on a bargain out of a bargain bin for like $10, I think, which in New Zealand is really, really cheap. We pay $100 to $120 new for most AAA games, which is why I don't buy new games. Which is why I appreciate that Starfield is going to be day and date on Game Pass, because of New Zealand prices. That's the only way I'm trying to get it launched. I'll be having Game Pass for PC to try it. So I did not get into Morrowind though. I could not get into it. I didn't really know what an open world game was, so that was the problem. I wasn't really familiar enough with open world games. Years later, I played my best friend's Oblivion on PlayStation 3 and loved it. And it wasn't just because Patrick Stewart was voicing the Emperor that helped. Although I didn't actually recognise him as Patrick Stewart back then because I wasn't the big Star Trek fan I am now. So that's why it didn't make a lot of difference. I just liked the voice, the sound of the voice. Like, his voice sounds so good. Even to this day, now that he's 80 or so, his voice still sounds really good. I love Patrick Stewart's voice. So I then played Skyrim and loved it even more because I love dragons. Although, as Vault Girl and King Fatman can attest, horses are the thing I love even more than dragons, because I have talked about it a lot, especially on Vault Girl's live streams in her chat. Anyone who has seen me on Vault Girl's chat, like Tree Flat and Lyrical, will back up how much I talk about horses. Especially when Vault Girl is playing a game where she rides a horse like Red Dead Redemption 2, like she's playing at the moment. Which is why, that's one thing I am disappointed about Bethesda with. Their horses are not as well done. Hopefully Creation Engine 2 will improve their horses, because their animation is one of the problems with it, and animation is supposed to be one of the things they're improving the most with that engine. And yes, they are lyrical. They are beautiful creatures, physically and mentally. What they are willing to do for people is amazing, really. I mean, if any of you like dogs, a lot of what's actually true for dogs is true for horses as well. Horses can be just as loyal as a dog. They can be just as affectionate as a dog, just as obedient as a dog. And, did any of you know, horses can be good at search and rescue as well, in ways that dogs aren't so good at. Dogs are really good at sniffing things at ground level. You want to sniff something higher, like someone up in a tree, a horse is better suited than a dog, because their sense of smell is very strong and they smell up high, not down at ground level, unlike a dog. And I keep doing gestures. I keep using my hands and gesturing, because I gesture a lot. You guys can't see what I'm doing, so why am I doing that? If you're asking me, King Fatman, definitely the Elder Scrolls, because I am more. I've always loved fantasy from the age of 13, basically. So not always, but so basically for almost 26 years, I've loved fantasy. I've never really liked post-apocalypse. Fallout is basically an exception to the rule. And actually, I quite like what I've tried so far of Horizon Zero Dawn. I've been playing the PC version a little bit. I like that too, even though it's post-apocalypse as well. Don't hide in a tree from a horse. Yes, because they smell high. They're very good at tracking. And they have been used in search and rescue a lot. Horses in areas where someone might be up a tree to hide from a predator or something, or for other reasons they might be stuck in a tree. A lot of people have used horses for search and rescue. You just have to be a lot more patient in training a horse than a dog. Just like with cats. That's where horses are like cats. You can train cats just as well as a dog. Despite what some people think. You just have to be very patient to train a horse or a cat. So, horses, it's amazing some of the horses things can learn to do, really. And are willing to do. Anyway, we've been off track for a while. Where are my notes? But that's part of the fun of doing this live stream, as I get to talk to you guys about what you guys are saying. Part of the reason of doing a live stream. Otherwise, I would just send this as a recorded video. Well, in saying that, being a live stream is technically a lot easier. Not that I'm not lazy though, so I would. It's just mainly, as I said, because it's good to talk to you guys. Okay, thanks for showing. Thanks for appearing at all, Tree Flat. I appreciate it. And thanks for the compliment. That's true, Local. You can train any animal, yeah. Arena, what game are you talking about? There being a Easter egg character? See ya. I'll see you, Tree Flat. Thanks for coming. I think I've actually pretty much covered most of my notes, actually, now that I'm looking at it. One thing I have mentioned, I do not want them to become like Ubisoft, EA, or Square Enix. And I do not hate those studios. I actually love some of what's coming out of them. But I don't want Bethesda Game Studios to become like any of them. Because I think if they become like them, Bethesda's style will disappear. I want Bethesda to keep their style, which is why I say Insomniac Games is probably the closest thing I want. Closest thing, even though Insomniac Games, these games are nothing like um, VGS's, but that's why I say the only aspect of it, Insomniac Games I want them to be like is how often Insomniac Games can release games in multiple franchises and not have the game in each franchise so far apart. That's the only thing. I don't want them to copy Insomniac style. I love Insomniac style, especially with Ratchet and Clank. I have not tried Spider-Man, so I don't actually know what their style is like that, but the Ratchet and Clank series I've been playing since the first game. I love it. It is very good and funny. A lot of people, I know there are some people that think, oh, it looks so cartoony, it's a kid's game. Trust me, it is not. It is for all ages. In fact, there are jokes in that you have to be an adult to get. There are some very mature jokes in the Elder Scrolls. No, the Elder Scrolls, that's true as well. I mean, in Ratchet and Clank games. I don't want, as much as I love the style though, I don't want Bethesda to do it. Bethesda style, I want them to keep that. I love Bethesda style. It is what makes them one of my favourite game studios. And that's the only reason I care about how long it's going to take. Or only reason I want them to make these changes is because I love their style so much. Yeah, that's basically everything that I wanted in my notes now. So do any of you have any questions? You can ask me anything. Doesn't even have to be game related. You can ask anything you want to know anything about me even. You can ask it. Any questions you guys have? And girls. Oh wow. It's already been about an hour. It doesn't feel like it's been that long. It feels like half that if that. Yes it does, King. Yes it does. What are you talking about, Arena? I don't know what you're talking about. uh, so, no one's got any questions then? Oh, I forgot to take into account the delay, sorry. You guys don't hear me as soon as I say it. I forgot that, sorry. I've got it on ultra low latency mode, but there's still a delay even then. Um, oh, silly me. I looked at my clock on my computer to see how long it had been. I could have looked in OBS, it tells you how long you've been going. So, and on YouTube. No, it's not, no, sorry, that, yeah, both you, I have YouTube open. Well, Lyrical, if you ever want to ask me any questions, um, in Discord, that's fine. You don't have, doesn't have to be now. If you think of questions later, then feel free to ask me in um, Discord. I Now I know I haven't been perfect. I've tripped over my own tongue a few times, and that's just kind of how I am when I'm talking. But I'm sure with practice I will get better at that, and I won't forget what I'm talking about so often. I just need to get more experience. Yeah, I'll do so lyrical, sure. Um, okay, well then, what about? Is there anything you guys would like me to talk about then? I didn't mean that I was doing bad lyrical. I just meant I'm going to get better with experience. Is my main point. So this is I've this is not the best of what I've had to achieve. Oh, the master! You're talking about Fallout lore, are you? Ah, you guys, you talking about Fallout lore. I see. I don't. That just proves I don't really know the Fallout lore. Like I said, because I didn't really realize you guys were talking about Fallout until Volker mentioned the master. Is the only time I clicked, and basically it's because they're talking about the East Coast. Though to me, when I think of the Master, I usually think of Doctor Who. I'm definitely having fun, lyrical, definitely, and I'm glad you guys are enjoying it too. That's the important thing. That encourage. It's good to know that I'm providing some entertainment, and also that knowing that encourages me to keep doing this in the future. See, that's why I want to write stories. That's why I want to publish my stories. And when I said that, I mean I will self-publish. I'm going to actually self-publish, even though it's not as much making. Won't, I know I won't sell as many as if I go for a publisher, but I really don't think my story is one that a publisher is likely to pick up. Uh yeah. Anytime I hear the master, I think of Doctor Who too, lyrical. Even if I know someone is talking about another context like Fallout, I still think of Doctor Who anyway. And speaking of which, lyrical, have you seen the like any of the past, like the previous season of Doctor Who at all? Yeah, because I agree, lyrical. Because for one thing, they do not. You have full control over what's in it then, in your story. To me, it's more about providing entertainment than the money. I would like to make a bit of money off it, but it's more about the entertainment value. The money's a bonus, not the point. um, well, the way the master is now a male again, instead of like the way Missy was a female, I reckon that is deliberate. Because they've changed to a female doctor, they've deliberately gone to a male master to kind of, because the way those two are always supposed to be opposed to each other, it's like creating a bit of going opposites there, since they're supposed to opposite each other. I mean, oh yeah, I'm not saying you can't make money lyrical, but it really does depend on your marketing skills. And I don't know how I'm going to do it there because I've never tried to market anything. So I have no opinion at all at the moment on what my marketing skills are going to be like. Um, so unless any of you guys have anything more you want to talk about or any questions, probably end it soon then, because I've covered everything out in my notes. Oh yes, they should be lyrical. It's just, I mean, if you're self-publishing, you got to be good at marketing. Basically, if you're not good at marketing, you're not going to sell that much. That's true for anything, though. Anything you're trying to sell, that you got to be good at marketing. Thank you, King Fairman. Thank you, lyrical. No, I haven't seen the interview arena. I tend to be. I basically don't see interviews unless someone else like King Fanman mentions it. Like I did not know about some of the interviews he said in his live stream earlier, the Kingcast. He talked about some interviews with Todd Howard about Starfield. I didn't know there were that many. I only knew about a couple of them, and yeah, that's one reason I don't want to do like a news gaming channel because I don't know about a lot of that stuff. Thank you for the compliment, Volker, and you're welcome. You have King. I didn't know you self-published any books. What were they? What were they about? Uh, sorry, I haven't. I've just been walking around my camp in this, but I wanted to focus on chat. If I was playing, it would be hard to focus on chat as well. I just wanted to have something showing in the video. If this goes well enough and I prove better at keeping this up than I did last time I done my channel, I will invest in a webcam. But until then, until I can be sure it's worth doing, I'm just going to have to be doing like this for now. Ah, Bible study books. I should have guessed. Not surprising at all. Are you? Mm. um. Well, that's. Thank you all for coming. I will end the stream now. I appreciate you all coming. And if you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and help this channel. I feel comfortable saying that, but I know you have to because of the way the YouTube algorithm works. And if any of you ever wanna talk to me outside of the live stream, my channel, I am on both King Fanman's and Vault Girls Discords. I will, Lyrical, yeah, I will. Oh, are you talking to someone else, Lyrical? I think you are, sorry. Anyway, thank you all.